Isekai is a Japanese term meaning different or another world. You know, the usual, where a random girl who either dies from overworking, and that one thing that has gotten away by killing over thousands of people at this point. Sure, it's cringe, and at this point it's getting annoying because the amount of mangas and manhwas are getting so predictable. Like, yeah, a truck blasted you off into another world and you can't even live in peace. Because apparently the character you got reincarnated into just so happens to be a white woman. I mean, how is it that you're always reincarnated as a white woman? Anyways, there's either a villainess, someone who gets killed by one of the main characters, or either gets stuck with a shitty fiance or parent who kills her, or dying because of some random disease. So now they've got to survive somehow. But wait, the male lead falls in love with them, but they can't accept it because he's destined to be with the actual female lead now. I mean, is this repetitive? Yeah, very. But when it's done right, it can make a really interesting and a binge-worthy story. So today I present to you a list of isekai stories done right. And yes, all of these are josei. Or josei. Anyways, let's hide my younger brother first. After waking up from her death, the female lead finds herself inside a dark BL novel she once read. And of course, she has been reincarnated as the original male lead sister, Kyla. Franz was tormented, bullied, and basically sexually harassed by the men who were supposedly in love with him. And the actual love interest, Aster, was cursed and had to hide his real identity by dressing up as a girl, eventually becoming obsessed with Franz. But that won't happen this time because Kyla plans on changing the story. She takes Franz's place and becomes the master of the Wester family heirloom and goes to the academy instead of him. Now Kyla has to navigate society and try to rewrite the story so she can save her family from the tragedy of the original novel. But the real question is, can she actually save her family? I'll start off with, this story isn't for everyone. The male lead is just toxic and obsessive, basically a yandere, but it's fine if you don't like him, but it's just fun to read how the female lead deals with the shenanigans. For once, she is smart and strong, and her relationship with her family is also fun to read. It's got a good plot and some nice twists, and the emotions are expressed pretty well throughout the story. Overall, it's pretty good. Again, if you don't like toxic yandere men, this story probably isn't for you, but overall, it was an interesting one for me. The main reason why I chose this is because it was different and stood out from the usual reincarnation stories. I stole the male lead's first night. The story starts off with a college student who dies and reincarnates as an extra, Ripley, who's Count's daughter, and a character who doesn't appear in the original story. So of course, she's gonna chill and enjoy the luxuries around her. But of course, as a manhwa, things don't work that way. Somehow, she ends up spending her first night with the Duke, if you know what I mean. And then the male lead is all like, you stole my first night, so now you have to take responsibility. And from there, Ripley decides the best solution is to break off the engagement with, and the rest is history. You know, the male lead is, something, but as the story goes on, he becomes more bearable, so it's fine. But the main MVP is Ripley. She's honestly the best part of the story. She's chaotic in the most entertaining way, funny, dramatic, and constantly trying to avoid her fate while making things much worse. Watching her panic and come up with crazy-ass ideas is half the fun. She's a very refreshing female lead. Instead of being overly perfect or overly tragic, she's just entertaining. This manhwa is also one of my comfort reads. It's one of these stories that make me just make me like nostalgic. It proves that when a simple plot done right can be so incredibly enjoyable. You don't always need a super complicated story. Sometimes all you need is the good characters and fun execution. So trust me and pick this one up while I go read this for the 100th time. My possession becomes a ghost story. This story starts off with the MC waking up in the original owner's body on the day of her funeral, no less. And of course, she has read so many web novels that she has no idea in which one she is in. While observing the maids around her and looking at her family, it kind of made it sense that she got reincarnated into a villainous body, and she tries to find a way to escape her villainous fate. Now, I know you're like another villainous story, but stay with me now. She just so happens to also summon a demon, Ginger. But even while reading this story, again, the story has an interesting take on transmigration. It's not every time you get to see the reaction of people surrounding the character. In this, we get to see the maids and the other workers scared out of their damn minds when the lady they served randomly woke up from a grave and started acting like a completely different person. And while this whole thing's happened, the female is just an amazing highlight of the story because she has no idea what the others think of her. She's not oblivious exactly, but just doesn't perceive what they see in her. And she had started seeing them as some sort of paper dolls. She is smart and operates logically through the story. She is just unreliable and wrong in ways she can't even see. And us as the readers watch it in real time. Like, girl is just trying to find out a way to survive her so-called fate, and the maids are just fucking trembling. Overall, it's a breath of fresh air, gorgeous female lead and beautiful artwork, thoughtful character study, and hard to find a fault in it. At least I'd say let it marinate for a while and then binge the story. I will change the genre. The story starts up with the usual setup where the main character gets reincarnated into her favorite novel as Judith, a villainous aunt of the protagonist. The original Judith abused her nephew and died at an early age. To avoid her tragic fate, Judith attempts to take care of Luca and send him to his uncle. Same as the original plot, but the story takes a turn when the time comes and Luca starts referring to her as mom and ends up taking her with him, which complicates her plan a bit. We get to see her navigate through the new family dynamics and misunderstandings. The plot switches from dark to angsty to warm, and sometimes, in Luca's words, a bit cheesy. The character development throughout the story is well paced, and what really sells it, honestly, is the female lead and the male lead have a believable growth and overcome trauma. The female lead of this story is actually a green flag and more three-dimensional than your usual ones. It has the right amount of drama and humor. Overall, it's a good story. How to Get My Husband on My Side. When I tell you this is one of my favorite stories, I mean it. The story is a 10 out of 10. The characters, the backstories, just everything is 10 out of 10. The story starts off as your usual Isekai story. MC has a traumatic past life, and she gets reincarnated as a minor villain in this historical novel as Ruby, who is destined to die in the hands of her husband. As if surviving in her dysfunctional family and with a really creepy-ass brother wasn't hard enough, she has to marry the man who will kill her, and now she has to convince her husband and his family why she is harmless. Hence the name, How to Get My Husband on My Side. I mean, how hard can it be, right? Right? Oh boy, if only you knew. Once you read the story, it's just one hell of a story. If I'm not wrong, it's the same author as the one who wrote The Fantasies of a Stepmother. Anyways, as the story goes on, it gets more deeper, and this manhwa really shows insight of mental and physical trauma. I mean, the way the author delivers that pain in such a way that as a reader is so gut-wrenching. The more you read the story, you understand why she acted the way she did. Because girl just did what she had to do in order to live. Trigger warning, because there is physical assault and eating disorder and trauma, so if you're not in the best headspace, I'd say walk out. This is a rather popular story while people have mixed opinions about this. I just say just try it out and then judge it. If you don't like it, then you don't. But just give it a try once. He Who Made Me a Princess. I know there are like a gazillion stories like this one, but back in 2020, it was unique and it's way better than the ones we get these days. It's as they say, the original is always better. The story goes off as usual. A Korean woman who is killed by a truck gun, and then her soul gets blasted off and she wakes up as a white woman, in this case a white kid, who just happens to be a princess and is destined to die in her daddy's hand. Oh yeah, and her mother is dead, because why not? Why do we need a mother, right? Because it's not a proper manhwa if there is no mother. Anyways, so she needs a plan to survive. So plan A is to live a quiet life. Plan B is to collect enough money and then escape the palace. And of course, all of them fail. So what's plan C? Oh well, she sweet talk and get on her daddy's good side so she can live. What a lovely father-daughter relationship they have. See, I like this story because it just mostly focuses on the father and daughter's relationship of Atty and Claude. And as the story goes on, the bond gets only stronger. A love built on fear which eventually turns into a genuine bond of mutual love and protection. Athy finds paternal love that she never had in her past life, and while Claude overcomes his trauma and fully accepts Athy as his daughter, moving on from blaming her for being the reason of her mother's death. The art is just freaking gorgeous and breathtaking, obviously. There's an itty-bitty of romance which is more obvious in the novel but not in the manhwa. I blame Spoonem for this because I'm still mad at what she did at the story's epilogue. I'll pretend like that never happened. Anyways, the pacing is good and honestly it's a good comfort read. Overall, it's a masterpiece for me because the story focuses on father-daughter bonding rather than getting revenge. If you have dad issues, this one's for you, my lady. Trapped at the home with the male leads. Mama E Papa Part 1 here, y'all. God damn, they're hot. The story is the usual. She gets reincarnated as a healthy heiress. Cherry Sinclair, aka Mother. Wait, how old is she? Oh, she is older than me, so okay, then back to Mother. Where was I? Alright, Cherry realizes that the story will be coming to an end soon, but she's determined to survive the apocalypse. Confused, are ya? Well, this manhwa you have zombies too. Oh, and the female is a badass, good at fighting, rich baddie. Anyways, using her money that comes with a new life, she creates a plan to create a shelter and hide from the monsters. What she didn't accept was for the male lead of the actual novel to also end up in the same house. Can they all work it together and survive the apocalypse? The story is a good mix of survival horror, comedy, and slow burn. Or some sort of burn, alright. I love the bickering between these two. The story has good pacing up until now, a hood of mystery, action, slice of life elements, without frustrating tropes like toxic dynamic or emotional manipulation, but unfortunately there is a love triangle, which I hate. Although I have heard that the novel is much more detailed and immersive. Overall, it's a freaking gem, and one of those recent manhwas in which it's different and stands out from the rest. Villains are destined to die. I can't write an isekai story without mentioning the isekai story, aka the villains are destined to die. This story is and always will be peak. If you haven't read it yet, what the hell are you doing? Living under a rock? The main character who's obsessed with the game takes over her life, and she ends up playing it in hard mode. As she wakes up as the Penelope Eckhart, sure, it would be easy if you were the heroine of the story, but as the most hated villainess, it gets a bit harder to live. With a creepy-ass brother and a prince who almost kills her the very first day she meets him. And he is the male lead of the story, of course. Isn't that romantic? The only way she can survive this mess is by raising the male character's affection. Even though it's a common plot, she's the one who stands up and is always front of the line when the topic villainous comes up. Plot so freaking good. One of its best point is its psychological realism. Penelope does not have one-dimensional, but she's a deeply traumatized woman whose behavior stems from her past life. This story shows her past trauma, influence, and how she perceives the characters in the story as same as her brothers in real life, who mostly are a piece of shit. While had abused her eventually, she realizes that they're different people and Reynolds' actions, they're genuine, but still doesn't excuse his behavior. Plot really is plotting with this story. Anyways, this story is one of the best written entries in the villainous isekai section, with a perfect mix of drama, romance, survival, and dark themes. Secret Lady, Mama E Papa Part 2, y'all. Anyways, the original female lead is a woman who can see ghosts in her previous life and ends up reincarnating as Rosentine, or I'll call her Rose, a noble princess in a new world with very same powers, but in this world, having such powers are punishable by death, and the so-called world is also set for doom. So to protect her and her loving family from death, Rose hides her ability and uses it to protect the second prince who is fated to be assassinated. That rhymed. Anyways, Rose teams up with the prince, and while being dressed up as a commoner, for some reason she always has this strong urge to protect him and risk her own life for him. I wonder why. You'll know once you read the story. Many people who have stopped reading this in the early chapters are honestly missing out. The story may seem slow or ordinary at first, but it eventually improves as it goes on. Once the plot starts developing, you realize it's building towards something much bigger. The story mixes mystery, politics, imperial conflicts, curse, flashbacks, and a strong world building. The romance isn't constant, but when it appears, it's meaningful, but it grows naturally between the characters instead of feeling forced. They're just tiny movements between Rose and Shore that I absolutely love. You'll understand when you read it, but it's just so good. It's like you have those butterflies, and it's so good, guys. It's so good. It's a very emotionally detailed, and everything is felt by the reader. The story explores insecurities, family issues, pride, betrayal, love, and happiness in a way that feels real. The artwork also adds a lot to the experience. Props to the artist and the author. The expression, the color, the panel transition makes the emotions feel even stronger and more immersive. Even after reading many manga, manhwa, webtoons, this one surely feels different. If you're still watching this video, thank you very much. And I apologize for my pronunciation since English isn't exactly my first language. And about the audio and the video editing, I am sorry. I'm sorry if it's weird and not really perfect, because this is my first time trying and I'm still figuring out what's good for this. And eventually when I start posting more videos, hopefully I'll get better. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.